Hello, this is OverLordBou, and we're back with another video with SAT score. And today, we're going to be talking about beating your ways to victory with the Kleber. So I'll let SAT score start us off about the Kleber.
Alright, so the Kleber is a tier 10 French destroyer at the end of the main French destroyer line. She's considered a very strong destroyer, at least when there is no CVs present. In fact, she was considered a meta pick and was notorious for the 4 Kleber strat back in previous clan battle seasons. Today, she occupies the role of a very fast, nimble gunboat. She can reach speeds of up to about 55 knots, and with her speed boost active, meaning that she is the second fastest destroyer in the game, only behind Paulo Emilio. And to give some unique traits of the ship, Kleber is, as I said, one of the fastest ship. Since she's a French destroyer, she gets special saturation, which means her modules do not take quite as much damage. They'll start saturating faster, so her overall effective HP is actually higher. Her guns are quite solid, but they have a relatively low rate of fire. This is where one of her gimmicks comes in, main battle reload booster, which allows her to increase her firepower during critical moments. And finally, her torpedoes, they're fast and they have respectable power, but they're also relatively short range. You can think of it as a Shimakaze F3 torpedo. Since Bo is the one playing the ship, I'll let Bo go from here. So, do you want to give us a rundown of what your thought process was here going to C?
Alright, so when my thought process on this map is, whenever I go to C, I usually go around wide of the island. So whenever I go around wide of the island, I usually try to cut off any DDs that go around wide. On this map, notoriously, the DDs love to go wide. They always do. So I try to cut them off with the Kleber since it's so fast. Now, sometimes I try to go a little bit wider just in case the islands, there's like a ship at the island, like a cruiser. But usually, since I'm so fast, usually I don't have to deal with that. I also try to hug this little area right here just in case a DD tries to get early spots, so just in case I'm able to get the drop on them and get an early kill. Also, this position is great for spotting any BBs that just try to push up as well. And since the Kleber is so fast, you usually don't deal with anything super early over here, so you kind of get the control of the map over here quickly on your own.
Kleber is fast, but one of her problems is her detection range. And I believe you're running no concealment build on this one?
Yeah, there's a no concealment build, except for it has a no skill concealment, but it does have the concealment build in the 5th slot, I believe.
Okay, so it's partial. And it looks like you are facing off against the Schultz, tier 9 German destroyer. So tell me a little bit about the French destroyer gunpowder against other destroyers.
Well, against other destroyers, it's perfectly...
Like, how does the Kleber fare against other destroyers?
Well, against the other destroyers, say, like a Gearing or a Holland, it's fine. But against the Schultz and the Elbing and the Russian Kaba, it has trouble because they have armor in their belts. So you have to use AP there. If you don't, you're just going to ricochet. And something that happened I wasn't expecting was the Neptune. The Neptune decided to push up very aggressively along with the Schultz, and they were trying to kill me right off the bat in the early. I had to run as fast as I could, go dark, because if I didn't, I would have been killed. And because of the aggression of the Neptune, he did get killed off by the Petro and the Thunderer. So I was very grateful that my team was there, because if they weren't there, I would have almost gotten killed, but was able to go dark and hide, so it was very important there. So as of right now, I'm just trying to reposition further away before I open up fire, because I did lose a lot of health. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to still do something in the end game.
Yep, Kleber is very fast, but she doesn't have any natural disengage, unlike many other destroyers that have smoke. So you're completely reliant on your speed to get you out of there. And fortunately, as you saw, you just simply didn't have any room to run in that corner. So you ended up taking a lot of damage.
Yep, exactly. And now that I'm starting to use the Kleber's main advantage of having the speed and its range of 16.3 right now, I'm able to do the long volley shots at these slower battleships and start getting the permas fires on them to start getting that nice farm on them.
Since you've opened up the range, it's much harder for ships to hit you. Like, the battleships aren't even trying. I believe there's a destroyer hiding behind that island that's doing his best, but of course, you're not going to hit a 55 knot Kleber at 12-13 kilometers. Not the destroyer.
Yep, there's a Haragumo, a Marceau, a Pommern, a Ferdigrab, and a Veneto that were back there. So over almost half of their team is over at that corner currently, which is really, really bad for them. So I was trying to make sure that there was nobody else out here. I tried putting pressure on their Stalingrad that's right here.
À tous les bâtiments. Cible stratégique repérée à cette position.
As of right now, though, as you can see, there's a Marceau that decided to pop up and try to start fighting our Fletcher. So I'm doing my best to give support from the long distance, because remember, I am super low health, and one of the battleship is still trying to kill me, so I'm making sure that I don't go down, because if I go down, the Marceau and the Haragumo have a free reign on this side.
Yep. Unfortunately, you don't have the health to go directly head-to-head with the Marceau, so you have to use your range, and you actually have superior ballistics against the Marceau. So with the Thunder help, you're still able to hit the Marceau at around 11 kilometers, and you secure the kill. Kleber and Marceau are pretty similar, but what the Marceau has is very high constant DPM. But in exchange, she loses her ballistics is notably much worse. Like, Kleber is a lot closer to the Russian guns in terms of ballistics, whereas the Marceau is a lot closer to the US guns. So as you can see in that fight, that Marceau was struggling to hit Bo. I don't think he even touched you during that fight.
No.
You were landing shots at 11 kilometers, no problem.
Yeah, no, the Marceau didn't hit me at all from that range, because the Marceau is more meant for closer range engagements with DDs, since it has such slow velocity shells, so the Kleber has way higher velocity, so it's able to hammer DDs from way longer distances than normal DDs.
In fact, this Haragumo seems to like shooting you as well, but he's having the same issue. He just simply does not have the range. Well, he simply lacks the ballistics. He can easily dodge at this range.
But yeah, right now we were able to push back the Haragumo. Very well done in the end for our team. Me, the Thunder, the Petra, and the Ferdigrass, we've been holding off this side very well. What do you think of the enemy team's position right now?
Okay, so on your side, they've been somewhat beaten back. Their Haragumo, their last destroyer side, is low on HP, so he can't really do anything with that Petro there. Their battleships are also stuck in a corner, and they're not providing much support. So you can just stay in the area and farm them out if they try to advance. Middle's kind of precarious because all you have is that Baltimore left, and the Cossack doesn't have enough damage output to stop the two ships from moving into mid. So it comes down to your north side, that Georgia and the Haragumo pushing through and trying to envelop the enemy. Your job right now is kind of to keep them at bay, which the enemy is helping by not moving anywhere.
Yeah, they're not really moving nowhere. It seems like the threat of me, the Thunderer and the Petra, kind of keeping the battleships at bay in the back. But the problem is they're about to lose their final DD, the Marceau. And he's trying to fire back at me, but from so far away, his guns are very ineffective against a Kleber. Against a battleship, yes, they're able to hit, but against a Kleber at this distance, it has very, 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 very hard time trying to hit a full speed Kleber. Very hard.
So, speaking of which, I find that Kleber is a harder to use destroyer than what most people give it credit for. For example, dodging is a huge part of Kleber's kit. If you're not able to dodge, then you're not going to do well in Kleber. So do you have any tips on how to dodge enemy shells?
Well, to dodge enemy shells, the best thing you can do is, there's different ways of dodging. You can do throttle juking or just juking with the rudder. Now, you should do a mixture of both, but usually against a lot of targets, you want to make sure you're usually at full speed, mid to full speed to be able to do the juking, but if you're against one, you can usually do the stop and go kind of juking where you stop, reverse, or stop and go forward. It all depends upon the level of the player you're fighting. If you can read that they're a lower level player, it's pretty easy to juke them, while a higher level player, you're gonna have to use different kind of jukes to be able to dodge them. You have to read your opponents during the fight. And with this kill, the Marceau is going down. That leaves their last DD on this side gone. So now there's just a bunch of battleships just ready to be farmed at this point. The battleships sat way too behind, allowing the DDs and their cruiser to get farmed. They were all pressured into that corner and were just too scared to push out.
We pretty much know the rest of the video, I think, is going to be just about farming. So let's continue on how to farm effectively with the Kleber and watch the Thunder just shoot the alien for no apparent reason.
All right, so for a really effective farming, this goes for pretty much any HE throwing vessel. It's very important to not just focus one target if you can. So for instance, right now I'm focusing the Thunder because it's the only thing I shoot at. But pretty much after I'm done with him, I'm gonna move on to the Veneto, the Vertigras, and the Palmer, of course. And what you wanna do is you're trying to get as many perma-fires as possible on every ship. So you try to get a fire on one ship, and once you get a fire, you move on to the next ship, and then you move on to the next one. And if you see one of those ships DCP, you immediately go back to the one that DCP'd and start peppering him with the HE until he gets perma-fired, and then you move on to the next one, and you move on to the next one. You don't want to waste too much time just shooting one after another, because the thing is, the real damage you want is the fire damage, because that's percent. Like, the HE damage is nice, right? But from long distances, it's going to be harder for you to get the consistent damages on the superstructure. So it's easier for you just to go for the percent damage from the fires. So the Kleber is definitely known for doing that. This is being shown here, of course. You see me going after the Veneto and the Vertigras. I'm pretty much separating between the two because the Veneto went dark. But pretty much once the Vertigras gets fires, I'm gonna move on to the Veneto. If you see here, I immediately shifted to the Veneto, trying to get the perma-fires on the Veneto as well. I do look over at the Palmer to make sure he's not aiming at me because he was trying to pop shots at me earlier. But this is pretty much the basic play for most HE throwers. It's just the Kleber is so maneuverable. It's way easier for you to do it.
Where does the reload booster fit into this?
Now, the reload booster, I use it either on DD fights, or I can use it on, let's say someone DCPs, right? I usually will use the reload booster. If it's like on a BB, I'll use the reload booster, just pop them with as many shots as possible to get as many fires on them as possible during the time, like after they DCP'd. And then I move on to another target and just let them burn. Because if you just shower anything with shells, you're gonna most likely get 3 fires max pretty easily. Or if they don't have fire prevention, you'll get 4. And it's really easy to do this with a maxed out Adrenaline Rush Kleber, which this build is. As you can see, the Vertigras does not have fire prevention, so he is going to suffer. I'm gonna be trying to get a double fire, and someone else did get a fire on him. So he is just gonna burn out, the poor fella. They just sat behind that island station way too long and allowed the Kleber to just be farmed. Now, the thing is that during this match, I did not have a CV hounding me this whole match. Now, in matches where you have a CV, then you gotta play really different. Usually, if you see there's a CV on your side, you kinda need to be at full speed all the time. Because if you're at slower speeds, the CV is more likely to hit you with its rockets or its bombs or torpedoes. But if you're at full speed, a lot of the CVs have a very difficult time now hitting Klebers or Merceaus, so it's very, very, very important you stay at full speed during CV matches in particular.
How would you rate the Kleber's AP? I didn't see you use it too much this match.
Well, during this match, I couldn't really use it. The only time I could have done was in the Neptune, but the AP on this ship is very, very strong on broadside cruisers, even broadside BBs up close in the upper plate. But during this match, I only had one opportunity to do that, but I couldn't shoot. I had to run away from the Neptune. But I would highly suggest, if you have a broadside cruiser you can sneak up on, especially like a Minnow booster or a Des Moines, just pop that adrenaline rush. Sorry, pop that reload booster on that broadside. Get that AP going. You will devastate them. It is so beautiful seeing it. But that is all the time we have today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Is there any other common mistakes that you think Kleber players make that you want to kind of certify?
There's a lot of mistakes that Klebers make. They either are too aggressive, where they push into a cap with this thing. This thing is not a cap playing ship. It is meant to be outside the cap, longer range. It's not meant to be a cap playing ship. If you do that, you are more than likely gonna get farmed, that you're gonna get killed very quickly. It's meant to be, it's pretty much, you gotta consider it like a cruiser, not even like a DD. That's, you gotta treat it like a light cruiser, because if you don't, you're just gonna get killed to death because it has such a high concealment. 8.3 consumable for this thing is how it goes, and if you don't take it lightly, you're just gonna get murdered to death.
All right, I believe we've covered everything in Kleber.
Yep, that'll be it. So thank you so much for your time today, brother. Appreciate you, man. I'll talk to y'all later. Hey guys, this is OverLordBou. Just want to thank y'all for watching today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I love reading your guys' comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Blah!